Well, hey there, everyone. I know it's been a while since I've posted an update on the railroad, and there's a good reason for that. I really hadn't done anything. I haven't made any time to work on the railroad in about a year. Any model railroad time I've had, I've spent working on projects for the local club's HO layout that I'm a member of, and doing some control panels and 3D modeling and printing buildings and some things like that. But I did recently get some time, and we've accomplished a few things. So I thought I'd share real quick, hopefully real quick, what's happened here. Uh, First and foremost, we got the base paint on the rest of this mountain. My son and daughter-in-law came over the holiday break, and we got this done. I kind of goofed up a couple of ways. First, I didn't remember correctly the base color of paint that I was using on the rest of the mountain, and so we ended up with a little more red tone here than what I had used previously. And then after living with that for a couple of days, I wasn't real happy with it. And it was my fault. It wasn't their fault. I bought the paint. But I tried to tone it down with some tan over top of it and really kind of screwed it up. But I think it's going to be fine. They did a really great job with the paint itself, with the washes. These rock faces that they painted look great. There's lots of depth and some good shadowing, good color variation. I think maybe better than what I've done in a lot of places on the railroad. But I think that once we get ground cover and trees and that sort of thing on here, I think it'll be fine. I think it'll look just fine. So, I mean, in all honesty, the base color is just to kind of hide the white plaster, right? So hopefully it'll look good. It definitely looks better than white plaster, so I'm happy with it, and I'm excited that we're making some progress there. But I wanted to show you what I've been working on over here in staging. I have a new control panel. This is what the old control panel looked like. And it was just toggle switches for power to each of the staging tracks. So I could turn power off to the trains that weren't currently running. But it needed some improvement. If you remember, all the turnouts on the railroad were hand throw, which if you don't know what that means that if you wanted to throw a turnout and route a train a certain direction, you just reach down and throw it. These are Pico turnouts, so they have a little spring in them, so they snap where you want them. And that's fine. You can reach all of the turnouts on my railroad, so that's not an issue. And it saves a lot of money because tortoise switch machines, which is what you'd normally use for this, are about $30 a piece. So, in this yard alone, I'd be looking at about $300 for switch machines to automate all of these. But I'd seen some folks online using these little radio control style servos for switch machines, and I thought I'd give that a shot. I had a couple from another project, non-railroad project, that I worked on, so I started playing with it, and it works. And the great thing is these servos are about $2 a piece. I got a pack of 10 for $20 on Amazon, and I'll put a link to those in the chat. And they work well. I did 3D model. This will eventually be on my Thingiverse. But I did 3D model a little holder for these. So I cut the hole in the cork and the insulation foam. I hot glued this in place, and then one screw holds the servo in the holder. So if a servo burns out, all I have to do is undo the linkage, unplug the wires underneath, take that one screw out, pull the servo out, run the wires back down through, put the screw back in, and connect the linkage back up, and I'm back in business. So that I think makes that a little bit future-proof. So let's talk about how I'm controlling them. All the magic happens under here, and I still need to do some wire management under here, cut some of these to length. I had it laying down here while I wired everything up, and I need to cut some wires to length and clean this up a little bit more. But this is how I control them. This is an Arduino. If you're not familiar with Arduino, they are little microcomputers that are built for inputs and outputs. They have input pins that you can connect a button or like a sensor, a current sensor, or an infrared detector, something like that too. And you can write computer code, a computer program that runs on the Arduino that basically says something like, oh, if this button gets pressed, do this to this output, light this LED or move this servo or whatever. And so the Arduino is controlling everything. These relays, the Arduino controls these relays, and each one of these relays controls track power to one of the staging tracks above. So that's how I'm controlling track power now. And then, of course, my inputs are the buttons off of the control panel. Now, I have to confess, I'm not a computer programmer. I used to be able to program in 2 or 3 languages back in my early youth and high school, but that skill is very rusty, and I don't really enjoy doing it. So I asked ChatGPT, and I told it what I wanted in model railroad terms. I said I had a staging yard with 5 tracks with 5 turnouts. The first turnout goes to the main or to the ladder, and then the remaining turnouts go to each of the 5 staging tracks. I want to be able to press a button for a specific track to select a track and have all the turnouts line out for that track. And it did it. It generated the program for me. They're called sketches for Arduinos. It generated that for me in just a couple of minutes. And then I went back through and fine-tuned some things, and it recommended or suggested some improvements or enhancements like lighting the LED. I came up with the idea of controlling the relay, but it created the program for me to load into the Arduino, and it works. So let's just take a quick look at its functionality. I still need to install the servos for the eastbound staging tracks. That's not done yet. But westbound here is 100% functional. So right now, if we look at the panel, we see these 2 green LEDs that show that we are aligned for the main, which runs right through the middle of staging right here. And if we look at this turnout, yes, it is aligned to go to the main. And so everything's kosher. And all the power is turned off to all of the staging tracks. So none of these locomotives have power right now, which is great because A, you don't have locos with sound sitting here making noise when you don't need them to, and B, they're not using power. But if I wanted to go, say, to staging track 3 here where the big boy is sitting, I can come down here and I can press the button for 3. The LED indicates that we're going to 3, and the turnouts have aligned. So the turnout off the main has now moved, so it's coming into the switch ladder. The turnout for staging track 1 has stayed straight. The turnout for staging track 2 has stayed straight. Turnout for staging track 3 has now diverted into staging track 3. So now if I grab a controller here and I select big boy, I should have power, and I do. And as soon as I switch off of that track, say I go back to the main, it cuts power and the turnouts realign. Let me keep the camera on the turnouts, and I'll select a staging track so you can see them move. I'm going to go to staging track 2, which should be this turnout right here. So this one should switch, and this one should switch. So if I press staging track 2, you can see that the turnouts moved. My panel now indicates I'm on staging track 2, and I have power to track 2. So that's basically it. That's how it works. And I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's going to simplify things a lot, because now if I'm running an op session and your card says you come out of, like this one says you come out of eastbound 2, then you just come over here. You got, eastbound 2, press the button. Your turnouts will be aligned, your track will have power, you're ready to go. So I'm pretty excited about it. I think it'll work. Well, that's what I wanted to show today. It is progress, and progress is always awesome. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time. Really quickly, I wanted to add a couple of things. Number one, you might wonder why I put the servos alongside of the turnouts instead of hiding them underneath the bench work. Well, first and foremost, because of the way this section of bench work is built, it would be a little difficult because there's the cork, then there's an inch of insulation foam, this pink insulation foam, and then there's a little bit of an air gap in there with some risers, some foam risers, 1-inch foam risers in there, like building a wall for a house. and then another layer of pink foam, and then the plywood base for the benchwork. So trying to get a piano wire from a servo underneath the layout all the way through that and get it to move properly, to move the turnouts, I think would be a tough job. So that was number one. And because it's staging and I'm not going to scenic this and I don't really care if you can see them, I just decided it would be easiest just to put them up alongside. There is a 3D model on Thingiverse for 3D printing to mount these specific servos under the layout with a piano wire like you would do with a tortoise switch machine, and even mount a couple of limit switches on the sides of the mounting bracket so that when the servo moves to move the turnout, it will press one switch or press the other switch. So you could use that to switch polarity on your frogs if you're powering your frogs or something like that. Not my model. I can't take any credit for it. The original creator deserves credit. But I'll put a link to that model in the description of this video so that if you want to play with this and you want to try mounting servos under the layout for switch machines, you've got that resource. The other thing I wanted to talk about real quickly is the overall cost of this project. I estimate that I've spent about $80 on this project. I already had the Arduino left over from another project, but they're about $23 on Amazon. As I mentioned already, the servos were $20 for a pack of 10. The relays were about $13 for the pack of 10 relays. The push buttons were about $12, but I have more. I think I got a pack of 30, so I have more push buttons for the next project. Same with the LEDs. I bought a pack of like 140 LEDs in 7 different colors for $13 or $14. So I have more LEDs, but I have the LEDs. And then the LED bezels were about $10, I think. So I've got between $80 and $90 in the whole project. That's like the cost of 3 tortoise switch machines. Tortoises are great. They're beefy. They're workhorses. They're time tested and proven. But I just didn't want to spend that kind of money. I could buy a loco, a really nice loco for $300. So I'd rather do that than spend $300 on tortoises, especially when this solution seems to work. So that's just a little addendum to the video here. Again, I hope you have a great weekend.